It began with a closed-door conversation that was never supposed to leave palace walls. A routine discussion about the monarchy's future quickly became something far more serious when Princess Anne reportedly pressed Prince William over a quiet plan connected to the order of succession. At first, insiders dismissed it as another royal rumor, but as whispers spread through royal circles, attention turned to a question that nobody seemed willing to answer publicly. What exactly was being discussed behind those doors, and why had Anne become so determined to challenge it? Before we go deeper into what this really means for the royal family, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss a single update. According to reports circulating among royal observers, the meeting itself appeared ordinary at first glance. Senior royals meet regularly to discuss long-term planning, institutional responsibilities, and the future direction of the monarchy. Yet something about this particular conversation reportedly felt different. Sources familiar with palace routines claimed the atmosphere surrounding the meeting was unusually guarded. Staff members were allegedly instructed to avoid discussing its contents, while aides reportedly treated the gathering with a level of discretion that immediately attracted attention. Within an institution built on protocol and careful communication, such secrecy rarely goes unnoticed. As speculation began to spread, attention quickly focused on the two central figures involved. On one side stood Prince William, the future king, carrying the immense responsibility of preparing the monarchy for decades yet to come. On the other stood Princess Anne, widely regarded as one of the most experienced and respected members of the royal family. For decades, Anne has earned a reputation for placing duty above popularity, tradition above convenience, and institutional stability above personal preference. That is why reports suggesting she had directly questioned aspects of a future succession-related proposal immediately generated interest among palace insiders. The details of the alleged plan remain unclear, which has only fueled curiosity. According to various royal commentators, discussions reportedly centered on long-term succession planning and how future generations of royals may fit into an evolving monarchy. Such conversations are not unusual in themselves. Every generation of royal leadership must prepare for challenges that may not emerge for decades. Yet according to palace whispers, Anne was less interested in hypothetical possibilities and more concerned with understanding the constitutional implications of any future changes. Her reported questions were said to focus on consequences rather than intentions. As the rumors gained momentum, so too did concerns about what the discussions could mean for younger members of the royal family. The order of succession is not merely a ceremonial list of names. It represents continuity, predictability, and public confidence in the institution. Even minor adjustments can carry symbolic significance. According to royal historians, that reality may explain why Anne reportedly pressed so firmly for clarity. Those who know her public record often describe her as someone who believes every major royal decision should be examined not only for its immediate impact, but also for its effect on generations yet to come. Meanwhile, palace silence only deepened the mystery. No official explanation emerged, no detailed account was offered. Instead, speculation continued to fill the vacuum. Some observers suggested the discussion reflected responsible future planning by William. Others believed Anne's involvement indicated concerns that deserved closer examination. Without confirmation, the debate remained fueled by interpretation, rumor, and quiet conversations taking place far from public view. Yet perhaps the most striking aspect of the story is what it reveals about the monarchy itself. Beneath the headlines and speculation lies a larger question about how royal institutions prepare for the future while preserving the traditions that define them. For William, that challenge may involve modernization and adaptation. For Anne, it may involve protecting hard-earned lessons passed down through generations. Both perspectives emerge from a commitment to the crown, but they do not always arrive at the same conclusions. And as whispers surrounding the meeting continued to circulate, many royal observers began realizing that the issue extended far beyond one private discussion. The stakes were larger than a single proposal, larger than a single generation, and perhaps even larger than the individuals involved. But the conversation was never simply about succession, it was about protecting a royal legacy that stretched far beyond the next generation. Long before modern royal debates captured public attention, the order of succession represented one of the monarchy's most carefully protected foundations. It was more than a list of names. It was a roadmap for continuity, stability, and public confidence. Every adjustment carried consequences, and every decision could echo through generations. That reality is precisely why reports of private discussions immediately captured attention among those who understand how seriously the Crown treats matters of succession. To many observers, succession is often viewed as a straightforward constitutional process. Names appear in a predetermined order, positions are established by law, and the future seems relatively predictable. But those who study royal history understand that the reality is far more complex. The order of succession has always represented something deeper than inheritance. It serves as a promise of continuity. It reassures the public that the institution will endure regardless of political changes, personal challenges, or unexpected events. That stability has been one of the monarchy's greatest strengths for centuries, which is precisely why any conversation connected to succession immediately attracts attention. Throughout history, the Crown has navigated moments when succession became the defining issue of an entire era. Some debates strengthened the monarchy, others tested it in ways few could have anticipated. Every generation inherited lessons from the one before it, often learning that even seemingly small decisions could create consequences lasting decades. That historical reality reportedly formed part of the concerns surrounding the private discussions, now generating so much speculation. According to royal observers, conversations about future succession planning are never limited to the present moment. They are exercises in predicting how decisions made today may affect generations not yet born. This is where Princess Anne's reported involvement becomes particularly significant. For decades, Anne has built a reputation as one of the monarchy's most steadfast defenders of tradition. She has witnessed multiple transitions within the royal family, observed constitutional developments unfold firsthand, and spent much of her life carrying out duties with little interest in publicity or personal recognition. Those who follow royal affairs often describe her as someone who views the institution through a long historical lens. Immediate solutions matter, but long-term stability matters even more. That perspective may explain why reports suggest she approached the alleged discussions with such seriousness. The monarchy itself has not remained completely unchanged over time. Various reforms have already reshaped aspects of royal inheritance and succession. Adjustments designed to reflect modern values have demonstrated that evolution is possible when carefully managed. Yet history also shows that every reform carries risks. Each modification creates new precedents, raises new questions, and invites new interpretations. According to royal historians, that delicate balance between adaptation and continuity remains one of the Crown's greatest challenges. Change may sometimes be necessary, but preserving public confidence remains equally essential. As reports of the private meeting continued circulating, growing interest emerged regarding how future generations of royals might fit into an evolving monarchy. Discussions about succession inevitably raise broader questions. What should remain unchanged? What should evolve? How can the institution prepare for future challenges without weakening the traditions that helped it survive the past? These are not simple questions, and they rarely produce simple answers. That complexity may explain why even rumors of such conversations generated so much attention within royal circles. The more observers reflected on the situation, the clearer it became that the discussion was never merely theoretical. It concerned the future shape of the monarchy itself. For Anne, protecting continuity reportedly remained a priority. For others involved, planning for future realities may have carried equal importance. And somewhere between those perspectives stood Prince William, the future king, whose decisions will eventually help determine how the next chapter of royal history unfolds. As the significance of the issue became clearer, attention increasingly shifted toward William's reported role in the discussions. According to various royal observers, speculation intensified when rumors surfaced about a future-focused proposal connected to the younger generation of royals. Details remained unclear, but reports suggested the discussions involved how the monarchy might evolve over the coming decades. Supporters reportedly viewed such conversations as responsible planning. Others questioned whether even considering changes could create unintended consequences for the institution itself. As whispers continued spreading through royal circles, curiosity quickly shifted from the existence of the meeting to the purpose behind it. Palace insiders reportedly offered few details, creating an information vacuum that was rapidly filled with theories, interpretations, and growing speculation. Some observers suggested the discussions were simply part of the monarchy's routine long-term planning process. Others believed the matter carried far greater significance. The absence of official clarification only intensified public interest, transforming what may have been a private strategic conversation into one of the most discussed royal mysteries in recent months. At the center of the speculation stood Prince William. As heir to the throne, William occupies a unique position within the monarchy. Unlike previous generations, he is preparing to inherit an institution facing challenges that extend far beyond tradition alone. Public expectations are changing. The role of working royals continues to evolve. Future generations will likely face circumstances very different from those experienced by their predecessors. According to royal commentators, it is entirely reasonable that William would spend considerable time thinking about how the monarchy should adapt to meet those realities. Yet adaptation has always carried risks, particularly when matters connected to succession enter the conversation. Reports suggest that the alleged proposal focused less on immediate changes and more on long-term planning. That distinction is important. Conversations about the future of the monarchy often occur decades before any action is taken. Responsible institutions prepare far in advance, examining possibilities that may never become necessary. However, according to some historians, even discussing potential succession-related adjustments can generate concern, because such discussions inevitably raise questions about precedent. Once a possibility enters the conversation, observers begin wondering what consequences might follow if similar ideas are considered again in future generations. This is where the debate reportedly became more complicated. Supporters of future-oriented planning argued that the monarchy cannot afford to ignore emerging realities. They believed exploring different scenarios demonstrates foresight and responsibility. Critics, however, viewed the matter through a different lens. They questioned whether certain traditions should remain untouched, arguing that stability itself is one of the monarchy's greatest assets. According to royal observers, neither side necessarily opposed the crown's future success. Instead, they disagreed about the best path toward achieving it. As reports circulated, public curiosity increasingly focused on a single question: who exactly might be affected by any future strategy under consideration? Because succession planning is never limited to one individual. Decisions made today can shape opportunities, responsibilities, and expectations for generations yet to come. Younger members of the royal family inevitably became part of the conversation, even if no specific proposals were ever publicly confirmed. That uncertainty created an atmosphere where every rumor seemed to generate new questions rather than new answers. Meanwhile, palace silence remained remarkably consistent. No official statements clarified the situation. No detailed explanations emerged. The lack of information encouraged even greater speculation, with commentators attempting to piece together fragments of insight from unofficial reports and historical precedent. The mystery itself became part of the story. The less people knew, the more determined they became to understand what had reportedly prompted such serious private discussions in the first place. Yet as the debate continued, one pattern became increasingly difficult to ignore. Whenever conversations returned to the constitutional implications, the historical precedents, and the long-term consequences, attention repeatedly focused on one individual. one royal whose reputation for discipline, caution, and institutional loyalty had been established over decades of service. One voice that reportedly refused to accept vague explanations when the future of the monarchy was involved. Yet the deeper the discussions reportedly went, the more one voice continued to demand answers: Princess Anne's. Few figures in the royal family command respect quite like Princess Anne. Decades of service have earned her a reputation for discipline, discretion, and unwavering commitment to duty. That is why reports suggesting she directly challenged aspects of the proposal immediately attracted attention. According to Palace Whispers, Anne's concern was not personal. It was institutional. She reportedly wanted assurances that any future decisions would strengthen the monarchy rather than complicate it. For much of her life, Princess Anne has occupied a unique position within the royal family. Unlike many public figures who rely on visibility to build influence, Anne earned respect through consistency. Year after year, she carried out royal responsibilities with little interest in publicity, focusing instead on service, discipline, and the preservation of the institution she has spent her entire life supporting. That reputation is precisely why reports of her involvement in these discussions immediately resonated throughout royal circles. When Anne speaks on matters connected to the future of the crown, people tend to listen. According to various accounts, Anne's reported concerns centered less on the details of any specific proposal and more on the broader consequences that could follow. Palace insiders suggest she repeatedly sought clarification regarding long-term implications. How would future generations interpret such decisions? What precedents might be established? Could seemingly minor adjustments create larger constitutional questions decades from now? These were reportedly the kinds of issues that captured her attention. For Anne, protecting continuity has never been about resisting change for its own sake. It has always been about ensuring that any evolution strengthens rather than weakens the foundations of the monarchy. That perspective reflects lessons learned across decades of royal service. Anne has witnessed periods of triumph and periods of turbulence. She has seen how quickly public confidence can shift and how carefully stability must be maintained. According to royal historians, few members of the family possess a deeper understanding of the institution's historical challenges. That experience reportedly shaped her approach during the discussions. Rather than focusing on immediate advantages, she allegedly concentrated on consequences that might not become visible for many years. Reports also suggest that Prince William approached the conversation with respect and patience. While speculation surrounding the meeting has often emphasized tension, palace sources reportedly describe something far more measured. This was not a dramatic confrontation. It was a serious discussion between two senior royals who share a common commitment to the crown but may view certain challenges through different lenses. William's role as future king naturally requires him to think about modernization, adaptation, and preparing the monarchy for a rapidly changing world. Anne's role, meanwhile, has often involved safeguarding the lessons inherited from previous generations. Those perspectives are not necessarily incompatible, but they can produce difficult questions. As the discussion reportedly continued, palace insiders described an atmosphere of mutual respect combined with unmistakable seriousness. Neither side was said to be focused on personal interests. The issue was larger than that. Both William and Anne understood that decisions connected to succession and future planning extend far beyond the individuals involved. They shape expectations, they influence public confidence, and they help determine how future generations will understand their responsibilities within the institution. That reality may explain why Anne reportedly pressed for detailed answers rather than broad assurances. According to observers familiar with royal tradition, she has long believed that clarity is essential whenever constitutional principles are involved. Good intentions alone are rarely enough. Decisions affecting the monarchy must be examined from every angle, particularly when their consequences could reach far into the future. For Anne, protecting stability reportedly meant asking difficult questions before circumstances made them unavoidable. As reports of the discussion continued to circulate, public fascination grew. Yet perhaps the most important aspect of the story was not whether Anne agreed or disagreed with any specific proposal. It was what her involvement revealed about the seriousness of the issues being considered. If one of the monarchy's most experienced figures believed the matter required careful scrutiny, then the implications were likely far more significant than many initially assumed. But what made the situation so significant was not the disagreement itself, it was the broader question it raised about the monarchy's future. Throughout royal history, every generation has faced the same challenge: how to modernize without weakening the traditions that give the institution its identity. According to royal commentators, the reported discussions between Anne and William reflected that exact dilemma. One side focused on preparing for the future, the other focused on preserving lessons learned from the past. Neither objective was necessarily wrong, yet balancing the two has never been easy. What reportedly began as a private family discussion gradually evolved into something much larger. The issue was no longer limited to royal relatives debating future possibilities. It became part of a broader conversation about the monarchy's role in a rapidly changing world. Questions about succession are ultimately questions about continuity, and continuity remains one of the crown's most valuable assets. For centuries, the monarchy has survived because it learned how to adapt without losing sight of the principles that gave it stability in the first place. Every major reform has required careful judgment. Move too slowly, and the institution risks appearing disconnected from the society it serves. Move too quickly, and it risks weakening traditions that have helped sustain public confidence for generations. According to royal observers, that delicate balance appears to be at the heart of the reported discussions between Princess Anne and Prince William. As future king, William carries responsibilities unlike those faced by most members of the royal family. His role requires him to think decades ahead, anticipating challenges that may not fully emerge until long after he ascends the throne. Supporters of future-focused planning argue that preparation is not only sensible, but necessary. The monarchy cannot remain strong by reacting to events alone. It must also anticipate them. Yet others believe that succession-related matters require extraordinary caution, because even well-intentioned discussions can create questions about precedent, stability, and public trust. This is where Anne's perspective reportedly became especially significant. Throughout her life, she has consistently emphasized continuity, discipline, and institutional responsibility. According to royal historians, Anne belongs to a generation deeply influenced by the lessons of previous constitutional challenges. She understands that public confidence is often built not through dramatic changes, but through consistency and predictability. For her, protecting the monarchy may mean ensuring that every proposed adjustment is measured against decades of historical experience before moving forward. As reports of the discussions spread, public fascination grew rapidly. Commentators debated whether modernization and tradition were truly opposing forces or simply different approaches toward the same goal. Historians revisited previous reforms. Constitutional experts examined potential implications. Media coverage intensified despite the continued absence of official details. The mystery surrounding the proposal only increased interest, encouraging wider conversations about how future generations of royals might navigate the challenges awaiting them. Yet beneath the speculation, one reality remained clear. The discussion was never simply about changing rules or preserving them. It was about safeguarding the monarchy's future while maintaining the stability that has defined it for centuries. Both perspectives appeared driven by a desire to protect the institution, even if they approached the challenge differently. And as the debate continued behind palace walls, many began to realize that the outcome could shape far more than a single generation. Yet even amid all the speculation, one truth appeared to unite both sides of the discussion. Despite reports of tension, many observers believe Anne and William were ultimately pursuing the same objective. Both have spent years preparing for the responsibilities attached to preserving the monarchy. Both understand the weight of history. and both recognize that decisions made today may influence the institution for decades to come. Their approaches may differ, but their commitment to the crown appears remarkably similar. In the end, the reported discussion between Princess Anne and Prince William may be remembered less for disagreement and more for what it revealed. It highlighted the immense responsibility carried by those entrusted with the monarchy's future. Succession is not merely about who comes next. It is about ensuring that the institution remains stable, trusted, and prepared for generations yet to come. According to royal observers, the most significant aspect of the story was never the rumoured proposal itself. It was the shared determination displayed by two senior royals who approached the same challenge from different perspectives. Anne's decades of service have taught her the value of continuity, caution, and institutional memory. William, meanwhile, faces the task of preparing the monarchy for a future that will inevitably look different from the past. Yet both understand a simple truth: the crown survives only when each generation accepts responsibility for protecting it. Reports suggest that throughout the discussions, mutual respect remained firmly intact. While questions may have been raised and concerns carefully examined, the goal reportedly never changed. Both Anne and William were said to be focused on safeguarding the monarchy's long-term stability. Their conversation reflected lessons inherited from Queen Elizabeth II herself, who spent decades balancing tradition with gradual adaptation. That legacy continues to shape how senior royals approach the difficult decisions that accompany leadership. The story also highlights why succession planning remains one of the monarchy's most important responsibilities. Every generation inherits not only titles and duties, but also the obligation to preserve public confidence. Decisions made today can influence the institution for decades, affecting future kings, queens, princes, and princesses long after current leaders are gone. That reality explains why discussions surrounding succession are treated with such seriousness, and why experienced voices like Anne's continue to carry enormous influence. As public fascination with the reported meeting grew, many observers came to the same conclusion. The debate was never truly about disagreement. It was about stewardship. It was about ensuring that future generations inherit a monarchy capable of remaining stable while adapting to a changing world. Both Anne and William appear to recognize that challenge, even if their methods occasionally differ. And perhaps that common purpose explains why the story continues to resonate far beyond the palace gates. It reminds us that behind every royal title lies a responsibility to think beyond the present moment and protect the institution for those who will come after. Because in the end, the question was never simply about the order of succession, it was about the enduring responsibility of protecting the crown for those who will inherit it next. Thanks for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and we will see you in next one.